Notable Michael, I agree with what he was saying as well, because it is like that. However, sometimes we are treated somewhat differently because we are from the diaspora in America. They think that we have so much money. They think that we're rich. They think that we need to support all of their finances. I've had some ask me for money for doctor bills, or there's always something, and we have to unfortunately tell them no, because we have our own finances here in the United States as well, which is really sad. um, some of the stuff that I found, we're somewhat different. We don't fit in totally into the picture there because we were born here. We don't fit totally in the picture here because we are bloodline to over there. So it takes a toll. It's back and forth, back and forth. But what we all have to figure out is we are all one. Unfortunately, we were stolen. We were brought here by not by our choice, through no fault of our own. So we have to really, get them to see that, or get the world to see that we are still as one. And it's sad. Not everyone there treats you like that, because I've had some amazing, warm, conversations, and it's been beautiful. But there are some that it's ridiculous. Ghana and Cameroon and areas in Sierra Leone that I've dealt with always ask, "Hey, can you help pay for this? Can you help pay for that? We need water wells. Well, we need homes here. We there's things that we need here too." And I tell them all the time, we would like to be there too. We want dual citizenship. Cameroon doesn't even offer it. What about us? We are the ones who are left out. We are the ones who are not a part of and trying so desperately to come back home to our ancestral home. So that's something that really is puzzling to me to see and to feel. But yeah, I just wanted to state my piece for a second. Thank you so much for the floor.
Thank you, sister. Yeah, I can relate to a lot of what you just shared. Um, Mama G, you have something you want to bring forward? Mama Ngasum? You're muted if you are speaking.
Yes, yes. Sorry, I just got in the car and it was connecting to the car. Yes, thank you. I don't think we've met before. I've been away for a minute. I heard the summary of the base of the today's topic, and I just wanted to, I don't know, because sometimes when we have the base, I just want to clarify some of the, make some clarification of the origin, because the incident about the hair braiding is in Maryland, because I know the person, the lady involved, and but the understanding is that there was an exchange between the braider and the customer receiving the service, and there was an exchange which was very rude on the part of the braider, and but the customer initiated the backlash online and start calling out, because I saw some of the thing too early on last week, starting calling out a boycott on August 1st of all, not just braiding, of all African. That seemed like, to me, it seemed like it was the initial reason why some, maybe the braider herself or somebody supporting her, went to, it's like in response to what the initial backlash was from the customer who received a bad customer service. And so I'm not defending anything. uh the African came saying it is pointless if you have one bad service from one person or from one business. You can call for a boycott of one business, not the entire uh, group. Just because I saw one video asking, the people, for example, for the nail salon, is monopolized by Asian, and the customer, the majority, 90% of the customer for the nail salon are African American, and asking, when did we ever hear anybody in the African American community say, let's boycott them? They'll be mistreating us for as far as we can. So that's one aspect. And then for the second one, the Essence Fest, you say it seemed as if the low attendance by African American was because African American women felt they were not the center of this event that was created for them. But the side that I got was that is the CEO of both company, one CEO of, I don't know, the two organizing company, one person is half African and half African American or half white, and the other one is fully 100% African native. And that was the reason, just like Michael mentioned, African American complain that African come and take opportunity. So those are the aspects of the base of the problem. It is not so much that the African American felt they were not the centerpiece, but what was more spoken about is that African are taking over what belongs to them. Thank you.
Thank you for that, sister. Brother Jason, you had your hand raised?
Yes, how y'all doing today? Greetings. I'm going to give my take on this, and I'm going to say this from a spiritual angle, and then I'll go into the rest. First and foremost, the moment that we start trying to find ourselves, you need to know that the demons are going to find reasons to try to separate us, right? There's a very powerful spiritual movement that is calling us home, right? Believe me, the devil takes notice. And whether you want to claim the devil as the white man or whether you want to claim him as the Indian or whoever, they take notice. There's a very monumental movement and effort for us to align ourselves. The reason why Cameroon doesn't want to offer us dual citizenship is because the president of Cameroon, I'm trying to say this politically correct, he's a French puppet. And they don't want us there, right? Because we bring changes, we bring those things. There are countries that are opening up and that are realizing that not just our money, but our skills and our knowledge, just like they're bringing something else to us. In regards to these situations where we're calling for boycotting, understand that those are government hacks. And I say that because, as the sister previously just stated, no one has ever, the Chinese talk cold cash trash. They have drug black women out by their hair in those stores and mistreated them. And not one Negro has ever called for a boycott of the whole Chinese organization, right? So when we hear these things and we see these people doing that, it is our job as elders to check them, because that is absolutely incorrect and inconsistent. When it comes to the Essence Festival, I've taken my wife, and there is a change in the culture that they're moving toward. But I want to also tell that this is what we should be embracing, because everything we've learned here is a lie. Everything they have taught us, everything they've told us about how we do our hair, how we are supposed to carry and conduct ourselves is not in favor of us as Black people, right? So when these wars are coming up, just know that it's a spiritual battle. And we as elders need to start making sure we are promoting that there is no war between us. Yes, there's differences. There are differences because, again, Sister, I think Nakia said, we were raised here and they were raised there. But I've been received well. Yes, there's some times where they asking for money and things like that, but that's okay. If we have it, we do what we can. If we don't, we don't. But we need to start working more on trying to communicate with one another and building those bridges and fighting for the connection. These white people, they know their heritage. They connected to Irish, they connected to German, they connected to their heritage. And when these young black people are starting to push, I heard Trick Daddy got on TV talking about we're not African. We need to let that go. Right? These people are being paid by the government to stop us from making that move. And we have to make sure that we're promoting it. If Essence Fest turns into an African culture, what we should be doing instead of boycotting one of the major black events is let them know our feelings. Like have those conversations and get in touch with those people to say, hey, we don't mind you adding these things, but we want to still keep a piece of us because we are here and we are your number one supporter. But boycotting and causing division, that's not from us. That is directly from these white hacks, and they're using the social media platforms to make it bigger so that it doesn't convince you to step back home. Because the moment you step back home, you're connecting with your ancestors, and we are the number one buying power in the United States. They can't afford for us to wake up and get knowledge. They can't afford it. So that's my take on it, and I'll pass it back to you.
Brother Jason, thank you so much. You know, you always speak powerfully, so thank you for that. I would like to, and Sister Nakia, I see you. There's one thing that I would like to respond to that Brother Jason just brought up, though, which is, who's amplifying these so-called wars? Something that I think is very important for us, or two things I think that are important for us to remember is, so the internet and social media and all that, it is an excellent place for us to, I mean, that's what we're doing right now. We're using this tool to connect and have a dialogue, and that's positive, right? That's a great thing. But at the same time, it's a space where anybody can come on and say doggone near anything. Doesn't mean that they're representing a people or whatever. It's them talking, and you don't know who's behind that voice, that's putting out this message one way or the other. So I think that that's something important to keep in mind, because just because one person comes on and says, hey, we hate I am African American and I hate all people who are not. I'm not a representative of every single African American in this world. That I'm Jackie, and I'm speaking what's on my mind, and I think that that's important for us to keep in mind. Sister Nakia, you have something you wanted to bring forward?
I do. I've never really referred to myself as African American. When that term started being used, I'm almost 51, and this is my father's father, my paternal grandpa, and he would be turning over in his grave if I gave up my Choctaw lineage. I don't care who it offends. I'm not going to do that. I have rights in this land because we descend, a lot of us descend from the original people of this land, the indigenous, the aboriginals, whatever you want to call them, and enslaved Africans. I do not call myself African. I say I am an African descendant, but I'm also a descendant of the indigenous people. I got people on the rolls, the Dawes Roll, when that racist system was made. I'm sorry, I just can't give that up, but I will not let people insult my entire community as a collective. And I see that happening a lot. It's not new. I graduated high school in 1992. The community I came from in Arkansas was a community with just us. It wasn't international. When I went to college, that's the first time I started being around African students, the Caribbean, Asian, all types of people. And I saw that type of division then. This is not, I don't know why we act like this is a surprise. It's not. When I started seeing other Black people, I embraced them. I was happy to see other Black people from around the world, but please understand that a lot of people come to this country and they don't like Black Americans. I will not let anybody disrespect the memory of my ancestors, because we made a way for people to get here, period. Blood is thicker than water. That's what I was taught. I love Black people no matter where they are on the planet, but I am not going to sit here and act like, oh, it's the Black Americans' fault. They did it. It didn't start with us. Our traditional culture is very welcoming to everybody. We'll treat other people better than we treat ourselves sometimes. But the disrespect that has come, not all, please don't think I'm saying all. I'm married to an African man. And he knows that there's a lot of racism within some African people, some Caribbeans too. Let's stop kidding. And even some of us are racist toward other Black people. So don't act like it's just our fault. It's been there. I personally do not call myself African American. It always sounded weird. None of my ancestors knew anything about Africa. I don't speak African languages. I don't call myself African. I say I'm an African descendant. I took DNA tests to find out what African lineages were in me. That does not make me African. I have ancestors that came from Africa, and I love African people, but I don't call myself African American.
Thank you, sister. You know what?
When we speak, we kind of take bits and pieces of the conversation and pass judgment on what that person really means. Well, because we don't all have a lengthy time to talk and explain ourselves and our positions. But when I said that, I was just talking from my experience. From when I heard African and diaspora wars, I'm wondering what war are you talking about, because I never haven't had any problems with any Africans. I've grown up in New York City schools, and I've seen problems between people from the Caribbean, people from Black Americans, and all that other type of thing, and even amongst Black Americans, period. Dark skin versus light skin, people calling you blackie, people calling people white boy or something like that because they light skin, but as far as Africans generally having a dislike for African Americans, I don't see that. I see that here in America, after they've been here for a while and been called an African booty scratcher and all that other type of stuff. But my experience with Africans on the continent, I haven't seen any animosity towards us.
Thank you, Brother Michael, for your clarifications there. And Sister Pamela, I see you. I do want to respond a little bit, though, to some of what my sister Nakia brought forward, because I think this ties in also as one of the layers to this onion. I think that there's a generational aspect to this as well. As you all have heard, I consider myself African American. I also consider myself Black American. And I definitely, now that I know I'm descended from Cameroon and the Bamileke people, I grab hold of that as well. African American to me, I am 65 years old, okay? So I grew up towards the tail end of the civil rights movement and all that was going on then, and the whole Black consciousness and Black power movement. The term African American was a direct response to us here saying, we are going to name ourselves. You got to look back in time when, we were, I'm not going to use the N-word, we were the N-word, we are Negroes, we are colored, all of this Eurocentric garbage thrown at us. And in the 60s, it was, if y'all look back through some of your, history reels, that was a time when Black people in this country said, no, we are embracing that we are not just the descendant of slaves, that we were a people before there was slavery, and the people came from Africa. Therefore, we are African Americans. At that time, there was no way to know which country you came from in Africa, but we knew through our melanin that that's who we embraced. So for me, That's what that term signifies, and why I am more than happy to call myself that, because I'm not a Negro. I am not colored. I'm not a color. Okay. Although I will say, yes, I am Black and I'm proud of it. So I just want to throw that out there, because I think, as I've heard through some younger folks who will say some of the things that my sister Nakia mentioned, people will say, but you can even look at Elon Musk and say that he's African American, because he was born in Africa and he is now naturalized here in America. Therefore, he is African American. That is, in my opinion, a complete misrepresentation of what that term has always been meant to be. So it's not to distance ourselves from an indigenous people or anybody else, but I do think that the larger reach of that whole statement is, I truly personally feel this. Those of us here in the United States, not necessarily, I think, by people of the diaspora, but our culture has been so appropriated, okay, across the globe. Music, dance, clothing, style, literature, everything, okay? And yet, from a social aspect, we are the bottom rung. So I think that this is part of the whole delineation movement, so to speak, to say, hey, you cannot group me with the Elon Musk, because that just don't fly. And as much as I love my younger Black brothers and sisters who are just coming here, guess what? You and I have a different history, okay? I have a history that came down this way. You have a history that came down that way. I love you and I embrace that, but understand I have a different culture than that. And I think that that is part of the so-called delineation movement, and the whole, when I think about this whole thing around Essence Fest, it's like, why is that such a big blow up? I think that's part of it. Again, it's this feeling of appropriation, misappropriation happening again. Anyway, that's my thought. I want to give the floor to Sister Pamela, who's had her hand raised for a bit now.
Thank you. Sister, you've hit some really, really powerful points here. And everything that everybody said, there's truth in all. Like, I was born also in the 60s. I'm 64. I'll be 65 in November. So we come from a different aura. I was one of the first, what they said then, Blacks, to be bused into an all-white school. It was different. I grew up in riots. We were in a riot at the school because they did not want us there. It was horrible. I was scared. I'm 14 years old in the school, and these hundreds of white people are chasing us down the street because we went to the store to get our lunch, but we were also told never be alone, to walk in packs. Every day in school, I remember a teacher kept calling me, Pamela Black, and I told her, I went off on her, and I got kicked out of the class that day because I got tired of her disrespecting me, and it was bad. It was really, really bad. On our birth certificates, and I'm sure you can testify, it says Negro, colored, on birth certificates from the 60s and before. Now it doesn't even have anything on the birth certificate, so it's bad. I think it's here in America more, the disrespect. I don't know why Americans, our people, sometimes disrespect one another when we got to come together, because we all we got here. It's so much against us, there's so much cruelty, there's so much anger here towards us, injustice towards us here in America. I have a family member that went through that. My son was given 25 to life for a crime he didn't commit. It took them 13 and a half years recently to overturn the sentence, to say, oops, we made a mistake, and you don't want to compensate. So it's a lot of unjust here in America. And then when we go there to Africa to find our home, we want to find peace. We want to come together. Yes, there is a lot of love, tremendous pouring love. And I'm grateful for that. When Malcolm and we did all the DNA testing and we all realized, hey, we are cousins. We welcomed him. He welcomed us. We were so happy to see the African connection, to see, okay, now we can put names together because names there don't change. Names here change due to slavery. You can best believe you look up your last name, it's probably connected to a slave owner somewhere down the line. It may not be. I can just speak for myself. Our family names were connected to slave owners. One slave owner was a real crucial one. So these are the things that we're happy to connect when we do find, our African family there. There's another African family or two in Nigeria that we've connected to this so far. And it's just been amazing because now we can learn the language, we can learn the customs, we can really find out, what happened, who was our ancestors. I found out a lot about mine and was shocked. Like, why didn't y'all live this way here? Because they were too scared. They didn't understand. They wanted to forget about the other side because they were here. And that's not what we want to do. This generation is different. We don't want to forget or erase what happened to our ancestors. We want to uplift them. We want to move and keep going to show our children and our children's children who they are and where they came from. So I agree with my notable brother Michael. It's a lot of love pouring out, and we have to look at all of the love. And I wish that the people here, our melanated people here in this country, could all come together and just really realize and see that we need to be as one. We don't need to be against each other. We need to be like the Chinese people. Chinese people walk in the room, you best believe all of them is going to gravitate towards each other and be there for one another. We walk in the room, we may be scattered all over and don't even speak to one another. That has to stop. We have to show the world that we are as one first. You know, our brother and sister walking on the street, they're hungry, but you pass them up. No, don't do that. You hungry, brother? Let me feed you. Whatever your situation is, your drug situation, your alcohol situation, I don't want to hear it. What I want to hear is you're hungry, let me feed you. We don't got to put money in their hand. Let's just help them. So we need to start here too, helping each other and looking out for one another, and maybe they will see the beauty in us, the way we see it, and carry it on everywhere throughout the world. That's just my take, because it's gotten to the point that it's really sad that they would have these type of feuds and things like that. And when the brother was saying that they don't do that to the Asian nail salons, you're absolutely right, because when you walk in there with that earpiece that tells you the language of what they're saying, you'd be shocked they're talking about you. So I would not bash my own. I don't care if they're here in America or from Africa. If they're melanated skin, that's my brother, and I won't bash them. They're not even doing that to the ones that saying now, the gingers that are saying, hey, we're black, we're African American now. They're not even doing that to them. I wouldn't consider a ginger that. That's just my take on it. You just got ginger hair. You were born with different color hair. But then way down the line, your great 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 granddaddy or grandmother or whatever probably did have sex with a black slave, and that's how it all came out. Because that is what's going on. We have white cut in our blood. No one in America can say they haven't, especially during slavery, because our ancestors were raped by these people, and it's sad. I had a great 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 who had 20, I believe it was 23 children, thinking that she was going to get her freedom, and she did not get that freedom. So we have to really come together and be stronger as one unit here. I don't want to fight my brother and sister. When we have a disagreement, I want to come back and say, hey, if I offended you, I'm sorry. Are we okay? Let's be okay with one another. I don't want to see my brother and sister over here struggling. I don't want to see my brother and sister over there struggling. Yeah, they do ask because they are struggling. So if I can give it, I give it when I can. If I can't give it, I don't give it. But it's sad because we look at it like, oh, there's so much gold there. You have all the resources there. They may have it, but they've been victimized too by the Europeans, where the Europeans came in and stole everything from them, turned their whole world around, and now they suffer. They're suffering over there. And I'm grateful that President Abraham is changing that. And I pray that all of Africa come together and come under his footsteps and change all of it. And it will make a difference for them there because they're suffering too as a result. We talked about what they felt like when slavery came. How did they feel when people were snatched out of their arms and taken away from them? They got a lot of pain too. Our pain is one way and their pain is another, but we both suffered. I yield.
Thank you, sister. That was a lot. Definitely resonate with everything you said. I think, first of all, I want to take a moment and thank my brother Monkam because he's provided this platform which allows us to do exactly what the sister was saying, which is let's have conversation, let's talk to each other, right? Which is what we're doing now. I want to turn it back though to, relationships between us as a people. And when I say us, I'm talking about all of us. I don't care where we are in the diaspora, right? On the globe. Because I think personally, the walls that have been placed up, we don't sometimes even realize how high those walls are, the level of ignorance there is about each other, right? I'm retired now, but I worked at LinkedIn. And there I was in a group which included young diasporans from all over, okay? I mean, Ghana, Nigeria. I didn't come across anybody from Cameroon, but Ghana was represented really hard. The Congo, DRC, just and most of these were young Africans. I'm gonna say, under 30. And also from the islands as well. Let me put that in there too, because and I was shocked at the level of ignorance that my young sisters and brothers had about us. But then I also had to think about myself and the level of ignorance I had about our motherland, Cameroon, because I didn't realize how much colonialism had done to that country, let alone anywhere else on the motherland. And I mention that because, here I'm working at this high-tech company. These are very intelligent, young Black people, right? Very educated. They're very technologically astute. And yet, when we had, Black History Month come up here in the US, we had Juneteenth come up. They had no idea what those things were. None. I'm talking zero, zip, nada. Zero, zip, nada. I had to come in. I was asked, come in, tell us what this is. And I was like, are y'all kidding me? They had no idea. And so I think that is another part of it. And I've heard it mentioned several times here that there's this sense that African American, okay, let me step back from that. Black people born here in the United States are rich. We ain't rich. Okay, most of us, maybe Monkam is rich. I think Monkam might be rich. But we're not rich. And yet there's this sense, right? The walls that have been put up against us. And so I wonder, this whole so-called war, is it more to keep us at, split apart? Through one of the classes that Monkam provided through Reconnected Grassfields, where we talked about villages and how our people lived back in the day. And what's a Bamileke? Right? What does that mean, right? Why did some people say it's not a tribe? Well, you know what? I started to realize, oh, so we were not really like this huge conglomerate. That's not how we were. We were kind of split up in different kingdoms and such. You know, perhaps this is, I'm going to just say it, the white man's way of exploiting us, right? Elevating those things that keep us separated, elevating those things that have been so successfully used against us, right? I mean, if you look at history here in this country, as far as I'm aware, every slave rebellion that was foiled was because of that. It wasn't because, oh, the plan failed. It was because internally somebody gave it up. One of our own gave it up, right? If we look at more recent history, you know, with the assassinations of our leaders, and even at least what I've heard, the attempts on our brother Ibrahim and what he's doing, right? So I just put that out there. You know, this is when Sister Nakia and I were talking, where I said to her, I think this is an onion that has a whole lot of layers to it, right? We need to bring it out and have the talk. Anyway, that's just my stream of consciousness. Brother Jason, you had your hand up for a long time.
Oh, I just want to say, I want to clarify something. I really do believe that we all are interconnected. That's what I try to teach everybody, is that we are interconnected. And regardless of what name that we have come up with, or what name that we call ourselves, diaspora, African American, all these things are just names. Our blood don't lie. Who we come from don't lie, right? I'm a bit of a history buff, and I actually have some friends. So just like Sister Nakia, I have Choctaw as well. My family, I'm part of the Dodge Rolls as well. I have descendants on there. What I found out in actually talking to the Choctaw is that it's a very odd thing that a lot of Africans that were freed back then actually were adopted by those tribes. The Cherokee, like, this is a known thing that we were brung in because we all had melanated skin, and they showed us love. If you actually study the Buffalo Soldiers, the white man used black soldiers to go and do harm to the Native Americans that were black. When they talk about the ones that they were after, it wasn't the Spaniard Native Americans, it was the black African. So we are all one. I do wholeheartedly, I pray that everybody understands that, yes, everything that the demon, and I wholeheartedly, I don't care what color your skin is, I don't care whether you're one of us or not, is meant to keep us separated. There is an active force. I'm hearing so much. The more we hear about how we're trying to connect with one another and we're trying to get with one another, I'm hearing just as much equal. That's why I said, regular ancestry had been around forever. Right? I didn't even know anything about African ancestry. Right? To turn on a TV show, and my children actually pointed me out, and I hear Trick Daddy, of all people, crackhead, sitting up there disparaging African ancestry and telling us that we are African, we are American. That told me everything I needed to know, because what would make him feel the need to push that narrative? And then I started hearing other stars start talking. And I started noticing that these, I call them government hacks, our enemies, just like you were just talking about, is not, the rebellions get squashed by the people inside, not the people outside. But they started pushing a narrative that I know it's been around forever, but they started really telling us, no, don't do that. Don't do African ancestry. You need to let that go. You American. My own daughter, she was like, well, such and such, and I was listening, and they don't want us there. So there's a lot of brokenness but there is a reason behind it. So I tell everyone, champion the course, find ways. Benin right now is offering citizenship. Take advantage of it. I don't think you should ever give up your rights to this country because we built this country, right? Everything that this country has comes from Black people. But don't be mindful that it is going to get worse before it gets better. You're going to start hearing a lot of negative energy toward us getting back to our roots. You're going to see it. It's going to be on the TV. It's going to be in the music. You're going to start listening because they're not coming for us. We're oldest. Y'all are my elders. But they're not coming for us to stop us from our movement. They're coming for our children. And that's why it's important for us to be out here and vocal and also to speak against these negative because they don't care about us. They already know we've lived our lives. They like, all right, but they don't want you getting to your kids because that's where the power lies at. So just know that we are together. We really do have to communicate with each of our brothers and sisters all over the world. We really have to connect and start learning because there is an active enemy out there right now that's like, oh, Sister Nakia, oh, absolutely, we got to stop her from because she got children. Sister Jackie got children, nieces and nephews. The moment you get involved and you start connecting, that you could end up changing the course of your entire lineage. Your nieces and nephews, it's crazy because it's like, oh. So I just want to make sure we really do bond together and really push that narrative and stop letting these. And if we are on the internet, I mean, speak up and speak out because I really would like to ask the sister who said that we should boycott our Africans. I've watched what the Chinese have done. And I've seen them say boycott a store. I've never seen somebody say boycott the entire, even though they own everything. Boycott all the Arabs that own liquor stores in our communities. Boycott, we don't never do that. But we quick to look at ourselves and say, oh, we different from them. Let's cut them off. We don't want to do that. That's strategic. That's the devil himself. I yield.
Thank you for that, Brother Jason. I want to ask a question, though, because I got to ask it. It's controversial, but I'm going to ask it. So this is to my brothers and sisters in the Caribbean, from the continent, in terms of internally, right? Because we're talking about relationships especially between those of us in the U.S. and those of you on those parts of the world. My question is this. I've heard that there are, maybe from the older generation, that when they're talking to their children who are coming to the U.S., that it's not so uncommon to be told, oh, you're going to the U.S., you're going to go there to work, you're going to go there to go to school, that's great. Make sure you don't hang out with them African Americans because you know what? They trouble. They get you pregnant, they get you in drugs, they get you in trouble. Is that off base, or is it something that occurs?
It ain't no base.
It's not off base. It's actually yes. That's the narrative that has been put out. Can I talk now? Okay, I don't know.
Yes, ma'am. You know what? I was coming to you.
Okay.
I wanted to turn it back to the topic. So go ahead, sister.
Okay, thank you. And I actually, when you were talking, when you worked at LinkedIn, and you were talking, and I was I'm a teacher. I was a teacher for the longest time, so I always like to make notes so I don't forget. When you get to be a certain age, you say you were surprised when these young people didn't know anything about Juneteenth and Black History Month. And that just made me some of the things that I do. I'm in diversity, I'm in DEI. So, and I'm saying, as much as you are surprised, the point of reference has nothing to do with the US. Your point of reference is the US. So they're coming here from another country. The mindset is on different things. And that's why sometimes, the tendency, they would say, oh, African come here. If they don't say African are taking our resources, even in campus, they say, oh, those African students get favors, they favor them, they do this, they do that. But in some of the research that I've done, myself, I was from that school of thought, thinking because I was told that people around me, we're not like them. When I came, I've been here for 40 years. I've grown up here. I've been here. So, but then when I went out to fly on my own wings and started learning, we cannot be strong as people if we're divided. And the problem that we're encountering, either in the United States or outside the United States as Black people, is because the domination that was imposed on us really went so deep that children are being taught. For example, a child, I'm sure all of you heard about the self-fulfilling prophecy. Some children, while I was a teacher, I had students who just say, I'm not smart enough. I just can't do it. And I'm beg student. I say, come after school. I'm going to help you. They're like, no. Or the parent call for a parent-teacher conference. I say, let your child come after school. I'm going to explain to him and have him do maybe 5 out of 20 things. If he shows me the willingness, I can do something about the grade. But the expectation for me, we can go all day. That's something that I'm hoping to put it in writing. The expectation for me as an immigrant teacher, teaching African American students, and this school have 100% government funding. They're on track to, if you don't produce, if you don't performance, everything is based on performance. If students don't perform, they're going to close you down. You're going to lose your job. They're telling me you have to pass that child. The child refuses to do the work. You have to pass that child. We are a team player. You know that child can do it. All I'm asking, meet me halfway. So all this thing, there's a lot of misconception and misunderstanding within on each side. And if there was a way we can turn this reconnection Grassfield movement into an education base where each of us would go out as a steward to educate the people that we interact with, that this is the misconception. You've met African kid and you were shocked. They don't know anything about Juneteenth, about Black History Month. I have students asking me, oh, do you all do French Thanksgiving in France? Do you all do Thanksgiving in Africa? And I started laughing. I'm like, excuse me, America is not the center of the world. What is in America? I had to just be blunt. I'm like, and that's even when we had the war. What is that? After the September 11 bombing, the Iraq War in 2000. I believe it was when it started, 2001 or something, 2002, and I went back to school, and I was living in St. Cloud. And there was so much tension. There's racial tension. There's the social, like homophobic, religious, anti-Semitic. There was so much tension. And I watched some of the workshop that I watched. And the questioning people around the world, these are not even African. They say, why do you hate Americans so much? Oh, because Americans think they know everything. Americans think that they have everything. They don't need anybody in the world. They don't need. And this sentiment, when I was a teacher, my first year, I was just flabbergasted. The things my Black student would be asking me the way I had parents, African American parents, call a parents teacher conference and tell me, you're not going to fail my student. All my student always had white French teacher. You cannot fail my student. I don't even know what kind of French you're speaking. And at some point, I couldn't take it anymore because I had to always keep my mouth shut and take it. And I said, excuse me, I teach Parisian, I speak Parisian French, and I've been educated in 3 continents. I told her that. I know I was reproached for it. I was reprimanded for it, and it's just too much because I cannot say I've taught in white school, white setting, and taught in Black school, but the most really destructive put down that I got was from my I'm in Atlanta, and I stopped teaching altogether. Not even if they pay me $1 million. What if I say what I endure in the school within this is Black community? I mean, it's somebody gonna think I'm making it up, and they would tell me. A grandmother walked in a parents teacher conference, and started asking me, "Where are you from? Where are you from?" I said, "What does that have to do with anything?" She said, "That's the problem. You people don't know how to teach American kids." And I looked at my principal. I said, "Are you going to say something?" He said, "Oh no." He wanted to make excuses. I came back, got my bag, got my computer closed. I said, "It's over. This conference is over. I'm not being paid to be abused." I walked away. I had already made up my mind to quit the job anyway. And I gave it one more chance at another school. And this was white people telling me, "Oh, you don't treat our children like you treat the Atlanta children because we are 2 different cultures." It's like, wow, which way should I fall in? I just left it. So I'm bringing it to that personal side to say, we need education on both sides. Yes, parents tell their children, warn their children about all the thing in America because the propaganda that has been put out there. And again, what that brother was talking about is the government, is the controlling machine. They're showing out there nothing about Black American is okay. I took my children, it was in 1999, for the first time. We stopped in Paris to visit family. My son is 35 today. He was 10 years or 11 years old. And a cousin asked him, was talking to him in French. My son said, "Mom, what is he?" And he kept doing his hand, the like this. And my son is like, "Mom, what is this?" And I say, "What are you asking him?" He said, "I was asking him what kind of gun does he have." My son was 11 years old, and my children could not understand it. And then I say, "Why are you asking?" He said, "Because we know everybody, every Black person, Black man, Black boy has a gun in America." This is the propaganda. So it's not the fault of that person not to know, but also American cannot expect people outside the United States to know stuff that is going on in America. And when people are coming here, they're coming here for the honey, the milk and honey. That's where their attention is. So they're necessarily not trying to understand the brothers and sisters because they have been brainwashed to think that, oh, they're not good enough to have it. Let's go have it. But it's for all of us. The education need to be on both sides. We really have to find a way because we talk about it. We each go our separate way, but we have to find a way because I agree very much with what our brothers say. This is simply they're putting all this propaganda to divide us more. When you visit one of the country, and they're asking you for money because the thing that even with us, it's not because you're African American. Even I'm traveling on Sunday. I mean, my credit card is almost on limit because I have to bring things, and then for some people, even wealthy people who have made it, you still have to have something, even a hat, even something, because they're just like, oh, you're coming from America. America, nobody has any need in America. So bottom line to me is we have to find a way to turn this into something very consistent that we can do regularly and educate and invite other people to come, even if they didn't do the DNA, just to educate so we can have a peaceful interaction with one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister. Sister Arthur, you've been very patient waiting.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, almost forgot what I wanted to say. I just start by saying that we have been programmed to hate ourselves and to hate those who look like us. And it's going to take probably at least another 50 years or so for us to make any headway to cut away cut grooves into that. For example, I know it seems as if it's a big enough problem in the United States, the self-hate, but it's not unique to the United States. I usually say, for example, I don't live in America, I live in Canada, and I'm from Jamaica. In Canada, this is something I learned. I've been here 25 years. This is something that the authorities, actually the police, that came to this school to educate us teachers about. So I was working in a rough community. And so the police would come in once a year to brief us on what's happening and to teach us the culture, the subculture. And the police said to us, they do not worry about the Jamaicans here in Canada because Jamaicans only kill Jamaicans.
Oh.
Yes, they say they wait, they watch, they wait, and they'll go in to take up the bodies. They also said to us, when a youth, Jamaican youth is going astray, they'll catch a petty crime. They're not anxious here to arrest our youth get away with a lot of warnings and so on. So when they go and they knock on a door and a mother answers that door, and immediately she's angry with the police, will turn up with the child, it's a warning to say, this is what we are telling you. They say when that mother is angry with them, they say, okay, because they know that the next time she hears from the police, it will be for her to go identify the body. Unfortunately, in Jamaica, we don't use a color thing. We don't say Black Jamaican, Chinese Jamaican. We just say Jamaicans. But for this conversation, Black Jamaicans only kill Black Jamaicans. If you hear about a Jamaican, Afro-Jamaican, killing a Chinese or a white person, it must be something major they did and they were paid, which I don't think happens in Jamaica. We only kill because we are the masses who look like us in Jamaica. For the school system, I can't say much because I'm still employed and certain things we can't say in public about or we can't discuss. But my sister who talked about education, the students, I'll say, and I'm going to refer to Jamaica again because there are a lot of Jamaicans in the United States and elsewhere. The major problem is that most of our young people, our families that move to the States or move out of Jamaica are in the low income bracket, if there is an income bracket. And they are also in the lower educational bracket, meaning what we call the more progressive people of our community. Most of them have a green card, they'll visit, but they actually don't move to the United States. We have many green card holders and citizens in Jamaica who are also citizens of America. So they'll keep their children in schools in Jamaica until university, because they say it's a stronger, more disciplined foundation. But so the majority of our young people who move to the States are those whose parents went to the States. A lot of times it's on a visitor's visa, and then they get married so they can get their papers to send for the children. The children are often not well supervised while they are in the island. And it happens here in Canada as well. Most of the times when the parents, usually about 4 years, when they send for these children, they go into a home with mom who they have not seen, or maybe usually she can't even visit for a number of years, and the stepfather who they don't know. Most of the times, the man, he doesn't want the children in that household. Most of the times. Remember, we are talking about, we used to call them barrel kids. The barrel kids, because mom goes away, they get the material things in the barrel. They are told that I'm going to send for you. So their focus in the island is to go to foreign. Nobody prepares them for life in a first world country. Nobody can really supervise them in Jamaica, because you can't talk to me. My mother says she's going to send for me. So when they eventually go to the first world country, huge problems. They are behind in their education skills. They are behind in everything. Plus there's friction in the home. So these are, and eventually a lot of them end up going the wrong way in the States. Yes, because they will find the gangs, or the gangs will find them. In Canada, the gangs find them because stepfather does not want them at home. So they take to the street corner and they find a family there, or the youth like themselves, and then the gang leaders pull them in, and they have to do certain things to remain safe in these communities. So we are talking about layers and layers and layers and layers. But to wrap this up, I don't want to talk much longer. For the Africans, I work with a lot of Africans. I've met a lot of Africans here, and a lot of, especially from Nigeria, work where I work. I approach them. Believe me, I approach them. And so the focus is they are here to work. So I approach them and I'll tell them, and I always start the conversation about Africa and slavery. Most, if not all of them, did not know about the slave trade because it's not taught in schools in Africa, or maybe majority of students in Africa, the younger generation, did not hear about it. So I educate them about my DNA and the slave trade and so on and so forth. When I found out who I am in 2019, and we had our first set of, I started with the boobies. The older ones knew that we were taken. They did not engage in the slave trade period. We were actually kidnapped during our fertility festival. The fertility rites that they do in May. So you had some disappearances, and in 1 year, they just kidnapped all of us. A few families said, yes, they were told that niece, whatever, disappeared. They disappeared. But when we actually communicated and connected with some, they cried. They cried because they did not know of us. So they were not looking for us because they did not know of us. In Cameroon, they knew in Cameroon. When we went, Jackie, you were there. The Douala, they knew because they were really up to their head tops in the trade. And it was said, and they apologized. Ghana, they knew. But I must say, I have found the best, I think it's the best family on this planet in Ghana. My cousins, Michael, our cousins. So I went to Ghana last year, and let me tell you, I have never been treated so well by some people I have never seen before in my life. They wanted nothing from us. They just wanted to give us. to welcome us, to care for us. They closed their businesses to stay in the house. They wouldn't even allow me to wash my coffee cup. I felt so loved, so appreciated, so honored. They took us to meet every single family member. That was it, drove us. Those who couldn't come to the house, they drove us. They stopped at their houses, they stopped at the workplaces. They took us to the villages. Perfect. Wanted absolutely nothing but to love us and to welcome us back home. And they're not my roots. They're related to my mother's father's side of people. So that's all I want to say, that we have to work at it. Yes, we are going to go to default when something happens and turn on each other, but we just have to be conscious of it and say, no, we are not going to allow them to continue winning. Sometimes even if we did it, we need to go back and apologize, swallow hard, think about it, apologize and embrace each other. I know that these frictions, I call them frictions instead of a war, these frictions will happen. They happen in every community, but those of us who know better, we will just do better and not write off our people and our race because one or two said something that was all negative. Because love is unconditional. And yes, during this unconditional love, you're going to have the times when you are disappointed, you're frustrated, and you're going to probably say things or do things, but it's to think about it and then to go back. The Sankofa part of it, you go back and learn what you should have learned and then come forward and address the problem. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. Wow.
I mean, if I want to add something, I think that definitely education is something which is very important, especially for our brother and sister back home, because like sister said, I mean, when we was growing up, we didn't know about Bimbia, we didn't know about slave trade in Cameroon. When we was thinking about slave trade, we was looking at other countries like Ghana or maybe Benin, anything else. So already that caused a disconnection when you see a black brother coming from a different, from the diaspora. You don't see him or her as your lineage, because that disconnection is there. You don't believe that that person could be somebody who came from the same tribe as you. And then some of us, like born in the continent, when we leave the continent, we still in that bird that we don't actually want to know more. We don't want to find more. We don't want to be connect more. And then that goes on. And then again, when you start having children, they just got the same pattern. So they're not going to be able to connect with their brothers and all that. All they see probably in the news, they see what happened in the news and then they take it from there. And then they believe that, okay, if I got connected to maybe an African American, I'm going to end up like what I see in the news, which is very, very wrong. And I definitely wish that there could be more our brothers from the diaspora who actually come like do a lot bit more to connect, because I understand that it's quite expensive for somebody who's in the continent to have a DNA, to buy a DNA kit to be able to find, if they've got brothers and sisters who was taken from their family. But us at the diaspora, we got that possibility to be able to do that and then to be able to connect with other people. Because the minute you go out there and then buy the DNA test, you understand who you are, what are you looking for. And then that's going to help a lot in terms of, resolving all these problems we're having, So that's what I wanted to add.
Thank you, Monkam.
Yeah.
Mama Gasson?
I forgot one point when you talked. I was gonna answer because you very briefly you say, for example, what's a Bamileke, and I just remember I say, well, I have one in my group. I have one of the living encyclopedia notable, and he would talk your ear to dawn fall or something. what I learned from him, because I was the president of my organization for 4 years, it was a very, very difficult experience, but very fulfilling. And it taught me a lot. I honestly did not even wear and want to wear, did not see the need to wear African attire, Cameroonian to represent. And in the process of being there, even though my lineage is the royal lineage in Cameroon, but my father disconnected totally because he was sold to Christianity and everything. So uh, as a president, I did a lot of water project, and I was bestowed the title 3 times over there in different areas. But just being the head of that organization, the cultural organization, I had to embrace that aspect of the culture. Uh, Always wearing my represent. Always have some time, even when I'm putting a hearing, I would have things made, and I would think about him because he was one of my right hand person. He would just counsel me, and he's a very objective man. And even when he listened to my grievances and he disagreed with me, he would say, "Oh, you have the right to do what you're saying you're going to do, but just keep in mind, as a leader, you have a lot of, it's always is more sour than sweet that you're gonna have." And it would bring me to see things and actually go against what I would want to do for the greater good. And one of his answer, I didn't know this. He said, Bamileke is just a made up word, but we know the grass field is the term Monkam know this. We call the pigeon, we say graphy. And growing up as a graphy, I contemplated suicide. I wanted to die because we were ostracized. They'll call me graphy, you graphy girl. They would pour dirt on me. They would spit on me. These are not children. And so I remember telling my mom, coming home and say, "I don't want to be graphy." My mom said, "You're going to be quiet." And I'm crying, and I run and go under the bed. I'm saying, I'm just going to stay here till I die and rot. I don't want to be graphy. And when we're fast forwarding, and I'm sitting in this position and I'm learning, and it's like something, a door opened in me. I'm like, I am this. And I was this, I don't know. This is a very, being a Bamileke, I've never been so happy, so emboldened I feel so blessed, because like we call him Day. This is a term of notable term. And he said Bamileke, the meaning of Bamileke is people who live on high ground. And not even that, you take it a step further, who think high, who have anything. If you're somebody who want better things for yourself, who want better thing for the world, not just for yourself, for the world around you. You would not sleep until everything around you is where it's supposed to be. If you want to always go ahead, always have the light, always think peace, always, it goes on and on. That means you're a Bamileke. You may not be a Bamileke by bloodline or by ancestry, but your mindset can be a Bamileke mindset. That's what I wanted to add. And I was going to maybe ask that one of these days we invite him.
He's actually he's actually on the chat. He's on the chat. I can see him.
Maybe we can invite him to come and just have a session on what is Bamileke, because I see the participant now is very different than what it was before. We have a lot of new people in the last, I don't know, 1 year or 2 or a year and a half since the phone was taken down. But it would be a good thing, because he's not talking about because to me, there's some contention about when we're talking about spirituality, the African and Bamileke spirituality, but just the culture, because culture will just stay, it would be very good to bring him on to give us some kind of refresher on the culture. What is the culture? What is it would help a lot of us. That's all. Thank you.
Mangasam. I mean, Broden, they had one of the best video we had. So I've been sharing and resharing that video, and there's a lot of explanation about what you just said. I'm glad that Broden Day is actually on the chat now. He's listening to what we're saying. And I relate to what you said when you was growing up in the school playground. When they call you graphist, it was one of the worst insult. When the word graphist, which is grass fade, because I mean they used to call it like on the pigeon way, and you feel like
you're dirt.
You know you're dirt, exactly. And then when you get to understand what the word mean, then you say, oh yeah, that's exactly what I am.
Yeah. So Brother Monkam, help me. This was I mean, both of you, thank you for sharing that. But this was other Cameroonians calling you this?
Yes.
Yes.
Because Bamileke in Cameroon, we're entrepreneur. We are the Jewish, if you can compare, we take over and we don't stop until we have it all. But we are people of peace, but very entrepreneur. Maybe Brother Monkam can correct me. As far as I know, I've left Cameroon many, many centuries ago. But as far as I know, the majority of wealth in Cameroon is owned by Bamileke. And when you see in the last 10, 20 years or 30 years, the wealth that is not a Bamileke is likely government person that embezzle money. But most of the wealthy people in Cameroon are Bamileke. And as you know, if you're doing well and people around you aren't, they're gonna accuse you. When there's a little uproar, Bamileke gonna suffer. Even in Cameroon, maybe as recent as 2 years ago, Bamileke businesses and there were just like something that happened almost like the Oklahoma, where they were killing and burning African American business in the 1800s or something. Things like that happen in Cameroon, and as recent as maybe 2 years ago, somewhere in the southern part, they're burning, they're taking the machete, and you have to run for your life. Some people lost their life, not many, but everything was decimated because Bamileke have always been seen as a danger to the country. For example, we're going into the election in a couple months from now, and to my knowledge, I don't know everything, the only viable candidate, there were maybe 22 or something, but the only viable candidate, which is a Bamileke man, has been last Monday, they took his name off arbitrarily and citing some kind of technicality and all that. But that's the only person that can really, realistically speaking, if there's a change in power, that could actually be the president. But they took him out because some people have swear that this generation or the next cannot see a Bamileke as a leader of Cameroon. That just Bamileke are very feared in Cameroon. And there were times that Bamileke children had to even change the name because it was so much in the 90s. I wasn't there. I just hear bits and pieces of things. Parents were changing the name because they know your name. By your name, they know where you are, and not just where you are, which region of the West you are by your name. So children would change the name. People were sending the children out of the country, and maybe 20 years ago or so, some children, like medical school, they said they would not admit any Bamileke person in medical school, child in medical school. Can you imagine? And leaders have to go fight. to have that change. And the children who are going outside the country, I don't know if it was in Cote d'Ivoire or I don't remember which country. There's a university, a medical school, where the majority of students were Bamileke students. And the government of Cameroon, literally, the people threaten that government and bribe them and bribe the school that they should not pass any student when they come to defend their thesis in the medical school. They should not pass them. And all this is well documented because Bamileke, they just say Bamileke take over. And if they take over, it can come under them. So we're high thinking, high expectation, high everything, and because of that, we're hated for that. For I don't want to use the term greatness, but really, when you come like Muhammad Ali, Bamileke are the greatest people in Cameroon. That's what they say.
Thank you, sister. You know what, though? This sounds very much like what we've been talking about earlier today. This internal push against each other. Monsieur the governor, I see you have your hand up, maybe, and Nakia, so you have your hand up. But it sounds like that to me.
I think I will hail to Nakia. She's got her hand up before me, so let her go first.
No, brother, I've talked before. You go ahead. I'll wait on you.
Okay, kind of interesting discourse here. I've been following it up. I'm also from Cameroon, from the Grassfield. I don't think that's derogatory because I'm a Grassfield also. And I thought we were here trying to see how we can bridge gaps between the different, call it African ethnicity, and I call it African American or African Caribbean or African Brazilian or regional Africa. But it looks like we've diverged into peculiarities of some of our tribes. Don't get it wrong, Madame Kassam. My grandmother comes from Bangante, and my grandfather comes from Santa. So we welcomed a lot of the guys from the northern province who settled in this northwest province. But I don't see that as what we're trying to say here. First of all, Maurice is my classmate. We were at the University of Yaoundé in 1973 together. So I know a lot about him. And it is not a peculiar situation that he is the only one. There are things, you guys, if we go back to the history all the way from Chairman Frundi till today, what happened in the 60s and all. And for information, Madame Gassam, I've been in this country since 1974. I went back and worked in Cameroon for 10 years and came back. So I'm up to date with what's going on there. However, what we're talking here is how we can bridge this disconnect of our different African authenticity in the different continents, not particularly what's happening in my part of the country, which I could call the Grassfield. Because I also have another brother here who's also from the Grassfield, just listening. And so let's shift the discourse to how we can get this thing done. Let's not particularize it to the Bamileke culture, because I'm part of it also, like I said earlier. And so let's see how we go ahead and try to see where this disconnect can be connected. And let's not be too particular. Thank you.
So, Sister Nakia, I'm gonna let you come up next. I do want to address that though very quickly, in that although we did divulge a bit specifically into Bamileke, most definitely this conversation has been geared towards the diaspora in general and the recent disconnects. And quite frankly, I think what the sister and Brother Monkam brought up, to me, sound very similar to this disconnect that has happened in general, right? So I just want to lay that. I really don't. I see that connection. Sister Nakia, you wanted to weigh in?
Yeah, so I mean, I really was just going to say, I think that's one of the reasons why here in the U.S. there was a movement called the delineation movement. I am and have been a part of the Pan-African movement for over 30 years when I was a college student, when I was first a college student. But what happens when you are into Pan-African, you get so global till you forget to deal with your local community needs, right? I mean, I've been to the Caribbean islands. I've been with Rastas at the Nyabingi camp in Jamaica. I spent time at Puerto Rico. You know, I've been to other islands, and if the Lord blesses me, I plan on coming to Cameroon next year. That's my plan. However, your charity starts at home. I cannot just sit here and say I'm Pan-African, I'm global, but yet I'm not a participant in my community here. My grandmother told me no river runs above its source. All of my ancestors are from the US, right? So with that being said, what we have going on locally is important to me. I cannot just sit there and act like I don't care what's going on here. You know, they got so many problems, but I want to do the global thing now. So for me, I get it. I get where the delineation movement is coming from, because in my opinion, we can't act like feuding just started. It's been happening. It's been happening not only here, but it's happening in Africa. Even the other sister talked about that a lot of even in Jamaica, you know, we know there's a lot of black on black crime here. This is happening all over in the black world. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not make it into some black utopia. It's not. And so I think that if we really want to effectively come together, we have to start little by little with our local prospective communities and nationalities that we come from. Because how can we all get together? We can't even get along with the communities we came from, the folks we came from. We warring and fighting against them. So that's why I felt a need to really look in terms. I'm an educator as well. I'm currently teaching at an Islamic school. However, I'm committed to teaching in low-income areas. I love our babies. I know that they have behavior issues. I know it's, you know, a lot of issues, but I need to be there. I come from them. I need to be educating them. So I'm committed to get back to the communities that I came from and also connect globally. I feel like you can do both. I don't necessarily feel, because I'm concerned about Black American needs, that I can't be Pan-African. I don't think that they're mutually exclusive. That's my opinion. So yeah, and I'm gonna be honest with you. Not all skin folks are your kin folks, because let's not sugarcoat it. I was under the thinking that Africans had nothing to do with the slave trade, but then when I started researching, it broke my heart to find out there were Africans that sold our ancestors to the Europeans, to the Portuguese and the French and the Spanish and the British and you know, it happened, right? So everybody don't love you just because you got black skin. That's delusional to think that. It was never the case.
Thank you, sister. Brother Chrisan, you have your hand up? Oh, you muted.
Sorry, it's not. It's Christian is the girl. She's my wife. I'm brother Boris.
Oh,
So it could be confusing. Both of us.
Oh, so you. Oh, see. Okay.
But she will say something later. So I'm from Cameroon. I was born in Cameroon in the 90s, 1991. So when I was born, Cameroon was just 30 years old. So it's a very young nation. Like as a country, Cameroon has been quite young. But in Cameroon, you have a lot of tribes and cultures that had been there before. But they were never on their own in one big country. So Cameroon as a country is quite new. And this is the case for most of Africa. And before you had different countries, and then you had slavery, and in between we had we were a colony. So we existed because we were part of the French Empire, British Empire, German Empire, whatsoever. So when you went to school, we got the same school system, but the same, I don't know, whatever they were learning in Paris or London, or even Jamaica, because Jamaica was also like a British colony. We were learning that at school. And there was no class about slavery, about whatever, even though back in the days, I guess people had parents or grandparents that were enslaved or whatever, but It was like, no, you are a British subject and you need to learn what happened in Scotland and the king or whatever. And that happened for about 100 years. And that created the gap. And then people were then fighting to get away from it. And we are still kind of fighting, even though I speak English, French, my level of Gomala or Bamileke language is not so great. And it's sad, but I can see that my kids will have a similar problem. So I think this is a bit what we are going through. And I think the second thing is, people already talk about it, but in our own country have so many issues. And I think for many Africans, when they go to the US, it's because we want to thrive. You feel like in our country, sometimes it's so tough. You are brave. I know my father wrote books. He did a lot of things and then he never managed it. And then you feel like if we go to a place where you can work, you assume you can work hard, you can put a bit of effort, and then you get a degree and then you get accepted by the society. We feel like, oh, this is a great place. And that's why when Black people from Africa, when we reach the US, we feel like, oh, we didn't have it back home, and here you can work, you can get your bachelor degree. Oh, it's even easier than what we had because school in Cameroon is very tough. But when you go to the US, in Europe, is the same thing. We get things at universities at university level that we got to. In my case, I had stuff in high school. We're learning about stuff in high school that I felt like we're doing again at university. And then we feel like, oh, actually here I can work hard, and people are like, oh, you deserve this degree, and oh, you can get this job. And so we are just in that mindset. And that's why I think a lot of people, when they go to the US, they don't have African Americans in their mind, I think. At least that's my case. I'm not in the US, but back home, the only thing I knew about African Americans was Kunta Kinte, because I watched it on TV, and Steve Urkel. I know that Kunta Kinte tell about the slave part, and then Steve Urkel was telling me, oh, those guys are funny, they have smart people. I didn't know much about all the details. I also knew about the music. Sometimes, okay, the music is a bit strange, but most of the time I love the music. And sometimes people would tell me, oh, Boris, you look like this singer. I was like, okay, I didn't know that. Someone told me I look like Nelly or Usher, whatever. When I was very young, I was like, okay. So it was really funny and nice. We didn't, because we don't, at least in Cameroon back in the days, we don't have access to all the details. We don't know what is happening every day. We just have some movies and that's it. And anyways, back in the days, we didn't have much TV. When I was younger, we only had the national TV. So many things are quite new, meaning my mom, when she went to school, she had no idea what is happening. She just knew, okay, there's Malcolm X doing some stuff. She got some some small things, but it wasn't like, we didn't get a deep understanding of what is happening. So many things are very recent. So I would even say like the last 10 years or 5, let's say 10 years, people get more things because they have access to the social media. Sometimes I watch some stuff where African-Americans people are debating because there's a divorce, and then this lady, she said, oh, I feel like you are not the father, and then you are the father, and then you're like, okay, this lady, she had sex with 200 people at the same day, the same month. And I'm like, oh, how is it? So you're now getting to see other facets, and then you're like, oh, that's how it is. And people who are in the US, then they are in that bubble, again, based on what I said before. And then when they see African Americans living their life, because they're also in their own bubble, they had other issues, other background. They just meet, but they don't know about each other. And that can create confusion because the African is like, oh, back home, it was not easy. I know that if I don't work, I won't survive. There's no food stamp, no social help. You just need to succeed, no choice. So you are in the US, that's what you know in your mind. And the African Americans is thinking, oh, I want to fight because, we need to be the whites are killing our children and this is happening, there's racism. And then you're thinking, yeah, I know that is happening, but you know what? I just want to focus on my school. I want to focus on my job. And because people don't meet, they don't know each other, they don't know the details of everyone's motives. I think, okay, we have this situation. So that's why when I compare with Asians and Europeans, I think the problem is not as deep because I live in Switzerland now. Today I was talking to an American that I met. He came here to study. He met a lady from here. He married her, and now they are here. The kids are American and Swiss, whatever, German. And they are just and they're going to the US often. And so the kids grew up knowing both culture. And a lot of Americans come here for holidays, and a lot of Europeans go to the US. There's a common understanding here in Europe that America, Canada, whatever is happening now, I think they still know they belong to the same civilization. They believe that America is just an offshoot society from Europe. But there's I think even with Donald Trump, no one in Europe is thinking, oh, America is just it's another world. They still know deep down, okay, this is just an offshoot society. They're just Europeans America as a country, it's just a European country that had a kid, and the kid grew up and became that. And to me, it makes it easy. When they do things together, they do business, they try to do business, to open companies. And to me, as a whole, on the long term, is healthy because in a way, they have an agreement to dominate the world together. So it works well for them as a whole. But for the Black people, it's not the case. The first thing about Black people is that we don't know each other. So before I can understand that all of this is happening because we don't know each other. So the first thing I believe we should do is just make sure that we meet, we talk, we visit each other, we just do. While we are doing that, many other things will happen. Because you can't, if you know someone, you will better understand the person's life, the person's motive and issues, and you can better connect. Yeah, that's what I want to say. This is my own experience. And my last point is, sorry, we have a little baby. The last thing I want to say is, when I go to the US, I see sometimes some white people, they look very aggressive or scared when they see me. I had one experience like that in a shop. The guy was really reserved, and when he found out I'm African, he was so nice to me. And I felt strange because I'm like, okay, so if I were to be an African American, you wouldn't be nice to me. But you found out I'm African, it was nice. Oh, you have a nice smile, it was friendly. And I was thinking, this is weird. It's like sometimes people, when they say, oh, this is an educated African, okay, this guy's okay, fine. And then this is an African American, no, we don't want to deal with it. So sometimes, because I think the context in the US is that there's this white population and there are the other racism, whatever happening in between. So that is affecting also the way African Americans and Africans are interacting, because somehow we are reflecting what the whatever the system is actually telling everyone. It's like, okay, African American, look, Africans are backward, there's nothing there. And when the one that are here are educated, so we tell the one that are here in the US or in Europe, oh, you guys are better than those guys, okay? So don't mingle with them. And we are just all following blindly. And I'm thinking, guys, we need to do it better. We need to understand that there's more at play, and nothing will just happen with this meeting as an example. It's just good that we have it. We need to have many more, but it just takes time. I mean, we are just starting to talk. This conversation would not happen 20 years ago. It would be much harder. So we are actually starting something, and I think if we continue like that, normally and hopefully we're just going to do business, we're going to get married together and so on, and then something else will grow out of it. But it takes time.
Brother Boris, thank you so much. You know what? You touched on so many things that resonate with me, seriously. First of all, you know, the whole concept of the different mindsets of immigrants, African immigrants coming here versus those of us who have been born here, right? Because America, the United States, has done this excellent job of promoting itself as being the place where, you know, you can start from the bottom, work your way up, here's free education, you know, all of this stuff, right? And so, and that has been my experience in meeting with immigrants, right? And not just from Africa, by the way, but in general. And that is, I'm not an immigrant. I have a different viewpoint, right? Having grown up here. Whereas immigrants coming in, whether they're African or from somewhere else, you're right. That is what I have sensed as well. One, that their whole thing is, look, I'm just here to live my life and climb the ladder and get all these good things that are here. That's number one. Whereas having been born here, my viewpoint on this place as a world, as that I live in, is vastly different. I understand that here in this society, they look at me and they look at you, I'm talking about non-blacks, and they see black until you open your mouth. And then you become something, you, Brother Boris, become something very valuable in that you are brown like me, but you don't carry the baggage that I carry. See, I carry the baggage of that mess that they did in this country, the fact that the United States was built on the backs of, you know what, not just my ancestors, but yours too. Let's not forget that. We were Africans. Africans built this country, okay? Before there was a Black American, there was an African, okay? But that African was beat and raped and, pillaged, right? From post to pillar. And in the narrative that this country has constantly put out, this is the land of the free? Really? This is the land of, opportunity? Really? All you got to do is just stop for a moment and go, wait a minute. But see, I remind that every time I open my mouth, I'm that visual constant reminder. So yeah. And, the reason that you get a different response that, oh, I don't need to be afraid of Boris. He's cool. Because, they look at me and they say, you know what? She should be mad as hell and wanting to rip my guts out. But, Boris, he's cool because I ain't done nothing to him. Okay, so I don't need to be scared of him. He got no beef with me. And the other thing that I'm gonna say that resonated is this whole concept of connection to community. I am in Northern California. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. So I am next door. Actually, I was raised in San Francisco, which has I believe the largest, our Chinatown, I think, is the largest population of Chinese outside of China, maybe. Okay, I know when they do the Chinese New Year, for example, that's like, that is like all over the place. And the schools from high school up that I went to, what I saw being in a school that was, I'm going to say probably 70% Asian, right? Chinese. The connection was there, even though with the kids who were my age, when we were teenagers, they knew who they were, okay? There was no disconnect. Even though they had been born here, they're the same age as me, they knew who they were. They spoke their language. They hung out together. They dressed their dress. They had their own thing. Chinatown today looks like Chinatown has always looked. My community is gone. It has been decimated. It is gone. That was something I had mentioned to Sister Nakia, right, when we were having our conversation. My community is gone. And even when it was there, we did not have that connection, right? The community and the culture that we had to build. And I think all African American, let me stop. Very hard for me to stop saying that. I think it was African Americans.
Keep saying that if that's what you feel. Everybody's different.
It is. It's in my heart. Those of us that were born here, we had to build our culture. We had to build our community. And I think that again is where some of that friction is. It's like, here's this thing that we had to make that was stripped culture, humanity. The attempt was there to bring us down to the level of animals. Without any of that, we fought to build that and hold it. And yet we have all these other communities coming in, benefiting from what we've done, imitating what we do. And yet we don't get we don't get the credit for it. But I know we've been on this call for a while. And I hope that I think what the brother said, and this also resonated, is how do we get past it? What's the answer? And the answer is what we're doing, what we started. Thank you, Brother Monkam, for allowing this to be a topic, right? That we have to have these conversations. We have to talk to each other so that this disconnect that's been there, all these people who've been in the middle telling us different things, you know, causing us to hate ourselves, causing us to want to be something else, you know, causing us to have this poverty mentality you can't have because then that takes from me. We have to stop it, right? And how we stop it is by talking to each other. Okay, I'm sorry. You know what? I had a really good breakfast, and so I'm all riled up and everything. I'm stopping. My energy is very high. So let me back up off of that. I see several people have had their hands up for a while. Kam Chow, I'm sorry if I'm saying your name wrong. Okay, I don't. If you're speaking now, you're on mute. Okay, I don't know if that person maybe is gone. Samsung has their hand up.
Yeah, I was trying to open my mic. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Yeah, hi to everyone.
Hi.
Happy to be here this evening. Yeah, I was hearing very carefully, and sometime I was wondering what is really the topic of the discussion of the exchange. At the beginning, I thought it was, let's say, the relationship between African resident and African in the diaspora, but we have a lot of different issues and point of view concerning different kind of situation. But what I'm realizing, and it was said, we are ignorant and we don't know a lot about each other. And the reason are also known. In Africa, I am in Cameroon actually. I live here also. I spent some time in Europe before coming back. In Cameroon at the moment, and I think in a lot of African country, even at school, there are not a lot of lesson or contents concerning our brothers and sisters who are living elsewhere in the diaspora, and even the history of the deportation is not really teach in the school. And of course, at the same time, also in Europe, in the US, there is no interest, no really big interest concerning what is happening in Africa. And that's maybe the reason we don't know a lot about each other. And that's also a reason why we have the great opportunity with this chat. And once more, thanks to Brother Monkam for the opportunity. And I'm realizing also a lot in the reaction, sometime making some constatation and sometimes being in situation of complaining. And I think we should also maybe think of action and also try to find ways, let's say, to make the bridge and also to reconnect where there is very a real disconnection, and to learn really from each other. I mean, here this chat is already an opportunity, but we have millions of people on the continent, and also million of people in the diaspora. And one of our thinking can be, how can we learn to know each other? It can be a topic on which we can build on action, not always realizing where there are problems, why we are disconnected, and so on, but not finding solution and ways to solve the problem. And we are also realizing the narrative in Africa at the moment, or maybe in the US, is still done by others. And the time is also maybe there for us to do our own narrative. And then we will not be in the situation of complaining and saying, this was like that because of this, because of colonization, because of deportation, because there are a lot of because, but maybe the time has come for us to, yes, to act, and so that our children tomorrow can talk differently and not being in the same situation of realizing, let's say, negative things like we are making like we are doing at the moment, and working for a better situation for us in on the continent, and also in the diaspora. And I also totally agree with I don't know, I get it was who were talking. I don't know if I remember the name, Nakia maybe, talking about the role we have, first of all, in our community to and tackle before even, let's say, also working on global issue, or maybe doing the two at the same moment. And I think within the continent, there are a lot of problems here. And we are suffering also from the influence of external powers in country who want things to remain like it is. And of course, we have to find ways to deal with it. And at the same time, of course, also find way to know our brother and sister in the diaspora better, and find a way to build a bridge and to reconnect. So we have a lot of different issues. And yes, my concern will be really to think solution and to find a way to start doing the first steps. So that will be my word. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. I think that's an excellent segue to start moving disconnect towards, right? What are solutions? What are solutions that people would like to share or can think of? Mama Ngasm?
Yes, I just I'm not answering your question directly, but somebody, the person that spoke, I think it was Christian Blake. He says in Switzerland. I just he made a misstatement. He said Cameroon is a fairly new country, and because he's born in '91, and I wanted to just make sure he knows that Cameroon is not a new country. I don't know. He was saying that the history, what he didn't learn about slavery and everything, but it's up to him to go back, because this is just another layer of misconception, even by us ourselves. If we don't, know the truth, if we don't know facts, we can all the propaganda can be. We can be agent. We can be helping the propaganda, or we can be agent of the propaganda to destroy us. So I just wanted to make sure he knows the Cameroon was discovered, but Cameroon existed just like the people came here, and there were already indigenous people here in the United States. And 1472, that's when I think he's a francophone, he's going to understand. Ferdinand Dopo came to the shore of Guinea and Cameroon and all that. So please, as a parent and as an educator, we need to know our history. Don't make misstatement like that and say Cameroon is a fairly new country, because Cameroon was not born with independence in 1960. No. And even when the European came to the shore, there were people there already. I just wanted to make that correction.
So Christian and Boris, you're up next. No, it's your turn.
Okay. To be honest, Christian is the one who wanted to talk. I will just quickly give a small comment about that. Cameroon, the Republic of Cameroon as we know it, if we go anywhere and read, he said the Republic started in 1960 when we became independent. Same as Canada was a British colony, but they know that Canada as a country exists the day they became independent from the UK. There's no, I'm not saying that someone discovered Cameroon and Cameroon didn't exist before and so on. I'm just stating a fact about that the country of Cameroon as we know today, if you came in 1950, it was not existing. It was a colony of France. Part of it was a colony of the UK. And at some point it was a colony of Germany. But if you put someone during the First World War, when the Europeans were attacking Germany, they also attacked Cameroon. They didn't attack Cameroon because it was the country of Cameroon. They attacked Cameroon because it was part of the German Empire. But if today there's a war between France and Germany, no one will go to Cameroon and attack Cameroon. If there's a war between, I don't know, someone between Russia and France, no one would go to Cameroon to attack Cameroon. But if there was a war 70 years ago between France and any nation, they could go and attack Cameroon because it was part of the French Empire. So that's what I'm saying. I'm not stating that anyone discovered Cameroon recently, but just based on that, Cameroon is a young nation because 60 years is not a lot. But I'm a Bamileke, and then the Baham tribe where I'm from is not 60 years old. I'm from a Baham tribe. We started more than 500 years ago. So Baham, Bassa, Bafusam, the tribes are older than the country as we know it. That's really what I'm saying. And it's important to know it because it's helped to understand the mindset of Cameroonians. Many people identify with the tribes because the identity around the tribe has been established long time ago before the identity about Cameroon. Cameroon is just Cameroon because Germans wanted colonies. And then they say, we'll go there and then we will just fight and add territories. They didn't think, oh, those people want to be together. And that helped to understand why division was used to make those people a colony instead of making these people a country. And this is affecting us till today. But Christian, who is from Jamaica, will want to say something. So I want to let her speak. The floor is yours.
Okay. I don't know if Madame Gassam has something else to say to Boris. Or
no, that's it, sweetie. That's it. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Okay. So good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. I don't know where everybody's connecting from, but I'm so far enjoying the conversation so much, and I just like to give also my perspective. Growing up in Jamaica, I heard also my Jamaican sister earlier. I need to meet you. Haven't met you yet. But yes, I just wanted to kind of touch on a few points that has been like spoken about already. For example, I want to say that how we perceive people is in large part based on our education, what we were taught, and so what we were taught, and also our socialization. So for me personally, growing up in Jamaica, what I knew about Africa was just only what I saw on the TV. Well, not only, but also what I learned in geography class, because of course we have to learn about geography, where is Africa located, so on. History, we learned about slavery and all of that. And also what we see on TV, which a lot of the times, unfortunately, was only about poor people. And of course, we already said this before, and I forgot his name, but that said that now we need to look for solutions. But it's good still to talk about, like, really what are the things that inform our current perspective and perceptions of people. So that's one thing. I was seeing children who are hungry with big bellies and flies, and this image, honestly, growing up and seeing that, for me, it just brought sadness, and in a sense, I want to distance myself from that kind of level of poverty. And you get this idea of, oh, it's so bad, and they don't have education and those kind of things. So in a sense, you know, you don't, personally, I didn't want to associate then myself with this life. It might sound sad, but that's just how it was. And then, of course, later on in life, maybe when I was 14, 15, then came the movies from Africa. So this was a popular thing in Jamaica. My auntie was almost every weekend bringing home another DVD that she purchased with some African movies, mostly from Nigeria. and it was just like a bomb. Like, in those movies now, we get to learn that not only poor people are in Africa, we saw many rich. We saw the riches was like beyond our wildest imagination, you know, and we understood that the narrative that was presented was one-sided. And then through movies, then we could learn new other aspects about our African people. We also realized that many of the things they do, for example, their gesticulations, the way how they would say things, and and you know, just the way, even like the, you know, doing your teeth, like hissing the teeth and everything, like how the mother would call the child and say, come here to me, or do this, or you could relate, and we could relate it to our own Jamaican, at least to my own Jamaican upbringing. And I think that's why it was so popular back home. We also learned other aspects that you know, that maybe could be scary, like the spiritual aspect. I was like, oh, they're really strong and you have to be careful, you know? But yeah, just saying that what we're exposed to helps to inform our understanding and how we bestow identity on a particular person or people. So yeah, so that's one thing. Also wanted to say that we also learn through our interactions with fellow Africans. So I didn't really get exposed to many Africans until, well, maybe my first was in university. I think she came from Kenya. Yeah, and she was just a classmate. We didn't talk a lot. She was quite quiet. Like, she wasn't a very outspoken person, but these were my very small interactions with Africans. And then I think in 2014, when I came to France, that was, 2014, that's when I started to meet a lot of people of African descent, from Togo, from many, many, like Cote d'Ivoire, Togo, Cameroon, and so on. And I realized that I had it was so easy for me to get along with these people. Easy, like I didn't have to force the relationship. I got along with them quite, I don't know what caused that, but it was just easy to interact. I didn't feel like I had to explain everything, too many things. Which is something very special. So yeah, interaction helps you to learn. And you will also realize that there are cultural differences, and that can be frustrating. I mean, I can talk about that because I was getting to know my husband, who is now my husband, Boris. And some things he would tell me about, you know, how you're supposed to do things, especially like as a woman or as a man. And I'm confused because this is not my personal upbringing. But I think in every culture, there are differences. And there must be a willingness on both parties to learn and to understand how other cultures work. Right. So there must be a lot of patience. That's what I would say. There must be patience. And if there's patience, that means it necessitates time. So even these conversations, I think they're very important because this is the time we're spending getting to know each other, getting to know the differences. And then, of course, through these conversations, we can see how we can go forward and to do something. So I think that's already in the process. The fact that I myself, a Jamaican, married to a Cameroonian from Bamileke background, which I must say was not easy at first at all, because there were different stereotypes that came out from both ends. From for example, from his end, you was told that no, don't marry to Caribbean women. They're gonna run off with your children. They're gonna run off with your children back to the Caribbean. You know, those kinds of perceptions. And I was like, where did this come from? Who are telling people these things? And then of course, then you learn that, oh, they had a cousin, and that's what the woman did to the, so then perceptions, these things also come out of experience, something that they heard but happened to one person. Sometimes it's not the majority, but just one is enough. So we have to also be very careful of the stereotypes that we might propagate just because of one experience. So we can't use one thing to label an entire set of people. So that's one. Then the other side is, from my end, I was told by a mentor of mine that, oh, be careful not to date Africans because, they have many wives back in Africa. Yeah. That's what I was told. So when I was dating Boris, I started thinking, oh my God, he told me he was single. That's what I know. Based on all I know, he has no children and all of that. But then I started thinking that maybe he's hiding something. You see? So like, these are the cultural, the stereotypes that can really put you apart, like say, no, these two must never come together. This is it's so easy, just a word, just by speaking, and this can cause so much confusion. But that's why I said again that patience must be a part and an ingredient in this coming together, like the constant talking, connection, in order to understand each other. I think it's also very important for both parties to try to learn each other's language, each other's lingo, how we talk. Like, I don't think it has to be like you have to, for example, like the diaspora, the Blacks in the diaspora. I'm not saying we have to learn a specific African language, even though that is nice, because I try to do that. I try to learn Fefe, in order to maybe convince myself that I can do this. I can learn about the culture and so on. But it's important for both parties to see what they can do to, bridge that gap, as my fellow brother was saying earlier. Yeah, what else do I have to say?
I have a question.
Yes, sure. Go ahead. Is it Audrey?
Yes, Blake.
Yeah.
Where's your Blake from?
Yes, this is Blake. So
where in Jamaica is your Blake from?
Good question. Actually, my father is born in St. Catherine, but he told me that his people are from St. Elizabeth. I've never met them.
Southfield, Top Hill.
Where? Top Hill?
Southfield, St. Elizabeth.
I don't know.
Because my grandmother's maternal side is
really?
Is my grandmother's paternal side, I should say, is Blake.
Really?
Sorry, not Southfield for them. The Blakes are from Malvern, Newell. They go back to Somerset, England.
Oh, okay.
I've traced that line to 1300s, I think, or 60, yeah.
What? Then we need to talk, because I feel like I don't know enough. So I would love to have a talk with you to learn.
I would share that with you, because the Blakes have been in Jamaica for a long time in St. Elizabeth.
Wow, this is the first time I'm meeting somebody who can actually tell me something.
I'm gonna share
Thank you.
your phone number, so I'm gonna send your phone number to you, Charlotte.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Audrey.
Stay connected, Grassfields. So
yeah,
we had a couple people who had their hands up for a while. So maybe we can give them a moment to share their thoughts before we start wrapping. But thank you, sister. I love your energy. Okay, you make me very happy to see young people with what I feel is the right mindset. Right, you are the hope of our people. You are the hope.
Thank you.
Samsung SMG998B, are you still here? Okay.
You can hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sister.
Yes, my name is Winnie. I'm not Samsung. It's showing that because my other phone played up. But my name is Winnie, and I've enjoyed the conversation here. And I've got to add a little bit more because most of it has been said. And I think what we are all looking for is identity. And there is a huge problem with identity because, like we had with the issue of Cameroon, two people were talking about Cameroon when we realized Cameroon was Cameroon, but the whole universe as it is was there before all this history that has cost us hate, that has cost us segmentation, because we are all segmented, we are all conditioned, like we've had within the conversation. The one thing that we don't have a choice is where you come through to the universe. So whether you come through universe through a slave that happens to be in America, whether like me, you come through the world from a Kenyan family. I am from Kenya. I now live in the United Kingdom. I have children with a West Indian from the Caribbean, actually, Kingston. And my son, who is doing very well in America, working very, very hard in America, who is an economic immigrant, just shows you how the world has become really small in terms of these wars that we want to carry on fighting, because it's not a start, like somebody else mentioned earlier. These things are not new. Now we become a big group of big people. Human beings have become more and more because now we are able to live longer. We are able to control death. We are able to control those things that really would have been an issue maybe a while back. The one thing that we haven't done over that time is to have something that we can call humanity. And so there's no reset in really going back to something that we knew, because I can tell you this, I am from Kenya, and most probably in my growing up, apart from the people who were missionaries who were from a different race, most people were Black. In fact, most people that I grew up with spoke my language. Well, we have like 40 different languages in Kenya, and we have our issues. Humans have issues. We have English and Kiswahili, which is the language that we use to link us up. And that is something that has been worked over time, that there is a need for linkage. And there is also a reason for social grouping, because as the communities, as the human race becomes bigger, greater and better, there is need to have a group that you call your own, that you identify with, but that does not eliminate you from the fact that you are a human being first. A human being who came here, was really mute for some time, for almost 3 years. You observed, you listened, but most probably there's so much that you knew, but somebody had to condition you to become the person that you are today. Now that is the bigger problem that we have. Because if you're conditioned to be a Cameroonian who believes that the person next door in the neighborhood doesn't belong, then you have really missed the boat. Now, my way of looking at it, and I have looked a little bit into this, because like you've heard, I'm now very international in the sense that I live in the UK. My children are both UK now. They live with me in the UK. They don't have another language apart from English. Their father is West Indian. I'm Kenyan. So with that, you're thinking, this is going to get better because I don't know who they get married to. So to link yourself back to an identity, which you can say is a pure identity, which you can call either this or that, it's really deceiving ourselves. So there is definitely going to be a need for talking, knowing one another, but that must be based on humanity. I think we have so many problems as a human group of people. as compared to the universe. And the brain that we have in our own heads is so small that to know the whole world, or to even try to imagine what really the rights or the rules or the realities of being a human being are, you know, like somebody said earlier, even within your own family, there's so many issues. So how can you connect the whole world? So first of all, for me, I think is to know yourself, because when you know yourself, then you don't have the need to prove to anybody else who you are. Now, these people that we have talked about, the ancestors, they had their issues to struggle with. We can't hold that forever. We have to know that we also got, this is the present, and this is when the world matters, because the future then will look back on us. What are we doing differently? Somebody has suggested we have to start acting. Now, acting doesn't mean we bring the whole world together. Maybe it just needs an individual. Maybe it needs to start local. And then obviously with the mindset that the universe is one, the human race in general is suffering right, left, and center, and to start creating other things that cause us to fight, that cause us to see ourselves as different. The consciousness doesn't allow that. Nature itself doesn't allow that, because you don't ask the person who they are first before you get to fall in love with them. And we have identified love to be a thing. It's a human group of people. So for all these reasons, I'm suggesting that we shrink it a little bit and unite for purpose. The groups will not end because the group is very large and it has to be divided so that people can belong where they feel comfortable. But in the meantime, we have to go, and it has been mentioned before, we have to go beyond the skin tone, the right and place of birth, and what you call identity. Because the person you really think you are, maybe you are not. Maybe those are just theories. I'll end there, and I hope I've made myself a little bit clear. Thank you.
Wow, thank you, Sister Winnie. You laid many pearls to be thought about and dwelled on. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Wow. Sister Nakia, you wanted to weigh in?
Yes, I just wanted to say something. Young brother Boris, you made a statement, and I won't hold it against you, young brother. You said that America is like a European country. In the memory of my ancestors, I can't let you think that way. This was never a European country. They were colonizers that came here. Our ancestors were already here. Now, y'all don't have to believe that or not, but I know it. They were already here. Some came through slavery, but we had Black indigenous tribes along the South and Southeast. If you believe the Black man and woman is the original people on the planet Earth, many left Africa a long time ago. The United States only received 6% of the Africans during the slave trade. You can look that up for yourself. So tell me, where did 43 million of us come from? Yes, there were some that came from the Caribbean, but there were Black indigenous people here. So please don't ever think this is a European country. They know they're not original to America. They know that they came here. My husband, I'm married to an African man myself, and he told me one of the reasons why he feels so comfortable here because there's so many of us here. That makes him, and he knows our ancestors built this country, not just the enslaved Africans, but also the Black indigenous tribes of whom we mix. We had maroon villages here as well, in the forests, in the woods, in the swamps. Go study your history, learn about us, learn who we are. So I just can't let you guys think that this is a European country, because when you think that way, that's why when you come here, you see Black people and you think that we some type of second-class citizen. We've been here. Many of our ancestors were here before slavery. That's a fact. Okay? Thank you. That's all I have to say. I love you all. Peace.
Sister Nakia, you do not play.
No, I do not. No, I do not. I do not. My ancestors won't let me play. They won't. I acknowledge both of my lineages. I acknowledge that I descend from the Black indigenous tribes, talking about the Creek, the Choctaw, the Quapaw tribes that were living in Louisiana and Mississippi and all along the Southeast. I also acknowledge that some of my ancestors were enslaved Africans. I'm a combination of both. And so I just can't let you guys ever think this is a European country, because to be honest with you, when the white man came, they couldn't have survived without the help of our indigenous ancestors. We taught them how to live, to survive the winters, what crops to grow. They couldn't have made it without us. They didn't do this by themselves. America's here because of us, period. Period.
Yeah. I'm so sorry if I offended you.
No,
I wasn't.
Baby, I'm old enough to
Yeah,
be your mama. You didn't offend me. You just didn't
yeah,
know.
but yeah, no problem. I just wanted to say I never said that the U.S. is a European country because it's not in Europe, so I wouldn't say that. The word I use is something I even read in a book. Many Europeans consider the US as an offshoot society of Europe, meaning it's what the people see. It's not really me saying that. This is how Europeans see it. They consider the US to belong to the Western sphere of influence, Western country. That's what Europeans see. Me, I'm not stating my point here. And it's the reality that a lot of Europeans here, for a long time, when they talk to Americans, when they see Americans, they only see white America. There's
Baby,
a lot of wrong in it, but this is really from my experience, the experience of people in Europe.
Yeah, the system, the politics, yes, you can say that, but the land, we have a spiritual connection to the land. They ain't got nothing to do with that.
My point is not even to say that what they believe is true or not true. I'm just expressing what is happening. Like when I even talked to my doctor the other day. I said, you are going to the US. He said it's like here, so you don't have nothing to test. And I said, you are going to Cameroon with the baby. And he said, look, we need to do a lot of tests. We need to do a lot of vaccine and this thing. But when we say the US, he say, oh, look, don't worry, it's the same thing as here. So when you talk to Europeans, if you travel to Switzerland and Europe, you will see that whatever is whether it's the politics or media or whatever, there's a clear in Europe, the mindset is the US, Canada, they're the same Western culture, Western countries. That's how it is seen. And now it's our role as Africans and African Americans to build a common narrative, because they won't do that for us, because this is their narrative. That's what I was saying. It's not mine. That's why I was saying, no, I'm not saying that the US is a European country because it's not in Europe. I'm saying that Europeans see the US as a Western country, meaning they see the US as a country belonging to their hemisphere or whatever. But now we as Africans or African Americans, we need to understand each other, because in Europe, sometimes the African Americans and Native Americans are not included in the story. That's why I was saying, I'm not stating that. It's not something I won't claim it, even if you wake me up at 4 a.m., because that's not what I believe. I just said what is happening in Europe. This is what, I don't know, maybe it's the US who did that through media. I have no idea, but the US has been promoting the US as a Western country. We are, I don't know, same civilization, Europe, whatever, but it's not what we as Africans are. I'm not doing that as a person. It's not what I believe.
Let me lean in here, because I think that I hear it from both your sides. And in terms of what we've been talking about today, really as a solution, which is where I hope we can, kind of conclude around, which is, how do we see ourselves and through whose eyes, right? We're talking about the white gaze, right? So when the white gaze is applied, it's distorted. It distorts. It's not true. That's not who we are, right? When we look at each other directly and we talk to each other directly, what the sister prior was talking about, one of the sisters prior was talking about, was how much we see the commonalities, right? The things that are, no matter where we are on the globe, you know what, that resonates, that's here. I understand you without even a whole lot of explanation, as long as I can look at you or talk to you without going through a third party, right? Which is something that we could not have done 20 years ago, let alone talking about 100 years ago, 300, 400 years ago, when, so much of our communities were shattered and scattered and broken up. Wow, this is an onion with so many layers. I think that's why we went all over the place. Sometimes it felt like, because things are, there's connections, right? There's membranes that connect all the way through. I think we're probably.
Sister Jackie, can I just say one thing here, please? The first point is what Brother Boris is. I think what he's trying to say, it's about the white dominance that America, the leaders in America and Europe are promoting, but that's not the point I want to do. I want to say that in this book, they came before Columbus. The author specifically stated that the Mande people, 4000 BC, the Mande people sailed to South America and brought cotton, introduced cotton to America. He described the people who were there. We know that many of the tribes were dark in complexion. I'm not going to go into the different names of the tribe. So we know that, I'm not going to say all because he never said all, but they described the tribes as dark in complexion, the Africans, specifically the Mande people who had basically developed cotton about 5000 BC in agriculture. They brought it to America 4000 BC. Of course, we know that they didn't drop the cotton off and leave. That's not how it works. Okay, in this book, When the World Was Black, part 1 and 2, I'm not sure if it's book 2 or book 1, that author also talks a lot about this, the indigenous Americans and some description who was there, and the Africans, those who came and interacted and integrated and became a part of those communities. So what is happening here, I think, because this Black, I'm going to say Black Americans saying they are indigenous Americans, I just put it that way. It's sort of sudden for most of us. It is since certain things have been happening in the USA, then we are flooded with this on social media. And a lot of us are saying, what is it that they so desperately don't want to associate with Africa, while they are suddenly saying that they are indigenous? That's the mindset of most of us. Not me. I have indigenous DNA. My tribe is the Tamahumara from the Chihuahua Mountains in Mexico. So I did that. I saw it in 23andMe, my ancestry.com, and then I was told about a DNA company that specialized in that, so I got my tribe. So what I'm saying is that yes, some of the native, and I'm not neutral here, some of the native, the indigenous Americans were dark. I'm not going to say black. Let me just say dark. Dark, the Tainos in Jamaica. One author, I have the book, described them as dark in olive in complexion, dark olive with broad nose. Okay, so we know that quite a few of the tribes, the indigenous Americans, were dark in complexion. We know that the Africans have been interacting, have been living among, have been having married, have been having children with many of the indigenous people in the Americas since 4000 BC. That's a long time. Okay, so the only thing I've been saying to some people on social media, African Americans who say they are indigenous American, because it comes across as if there's some amount of ignorance about it. Because when they're going to dress up and put on feathers and things and just say, I'm American, and I say, okay, show us, in other words, yes, suddenly we have been seeing you on Facebook, or suddenly you are indigenous American. Why not do a DNA test? It's admixture. Some of it may be admixture, but the DNA test, if you know which companies specialize in DNA, if you don't have the paper trail like Sister Nakia here, who has it, just do a DNA test. And it will, more people will believe you. More people will believe you if you say, see, I don't care what percentage it is, even if they say straight DNA, it still means you have an ancestor who was Native American. That's the advice I've given some of them, to say just do it so you don't have the friction going back and forth, back and forth. If you don't have the paper trail like Sister Naki and some others who said, well, we were told and we have this and that and that. So that's all I'm saying. Yes, they have been there since 4000 BC, at least, specifically the Mende people, and then others joined them. The man is
May I just, I know it's getting late. May I say one last thing, please? Thank you. Sister Jackie, may I speak? Just one brief thing?
Absolutely.
My sister, thank you for that. Yes, Ivan Van Sertima, they came before Columbus, one of my favorites. I'm not one of those people who are saying that I have no African blood in me. There are some people that are saying that they are only indigenous. They're not African at all. I'm not saying that. I'm saying I descend from both. And secondly, I've taken all sorts of DNA tests, but we don't use DNA to trace a lot of our native lineages. Here's why. The reference set, although it does come up, you know, even in a minimal amount, it does come up in the test that I've taken. But one of the reasons why a lot of us don't use it, and a lot of even the federally recognized tribes in the United States, because a lot of those tribes are not represented on the reference set. And when you take those DNA tests, the autochromosomal tests, they usually have natives from Yucatan, from South America represented, Mexico. A lot of our tribes in the Southeast, they took one look at them and called them Negroes. They never even when they began writing down their race, they would consider them Negro or mulatto or colored. That's how black looking they was. So we don't really go by the DNA because we know that, what are you comparing me? You're comparing me to the Southwest Plain Indians or those in Mexico or South America. However, and a lot of our families, that oral lineage is there. So take away the science per se. You know, the science also said we came from apes, that we were lower forms of humans. So if you're going to believe the science, believe all of it. So my whole thing is, I'm not a person that's saying I am not an African descendant. I am a person that will not disrespect my indigenous ancestors. My grandpa be turning over in his grave if he knew I was pretending not to be that. I met my grandpa and my great grandma when I was very young. I can't deny it. So with that doesn't mean I'm not a black woman. I'm black. My tribes I come from were black. My African ancestors were black and proud of it. So I'm not ignorant to the point of saying, no, I'm not African at all. I don't feel that way. That's not me. I'm done, y'all. I'm sorry. I know it's getting late. I'm done.
An onion with many layers. All right, y'all. I think we have peeled it as far as we can peel it for today. Wouldn't you say so? I don't know if Brother Monkam is still there or not, but I think
I'm here. Yeah, I mean, what am I gonna say? There's nothing to add. We had a good conversation. I mean, we're having a good conversation for the one who still wish to stay. So it's been very, very good, and I took so many things on board, like from Brother Conchu and Sister Christian, who says that we need to look at the solution, how we can take action about things. So we're gonna be looking at them things. And I don't know if the president, Mr. Gordon, got something to add. I just saw his hat there.
I don't have anything to add. I want to thank Jackie and Nakia for doing a great job in moderating, bringing up some good questions, and keeping everything moving. So really appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you a lot, my sister Nakia.
Thank you. I love you guys. Thank you.
Thank you. That was awesome. Awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye, bye, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
One love.
Thank you. Bye, everybody. Bye.
Thank you, Mamanga Sam.
I'm back.
I'm happy for your
I'm back. It's been a minute.
Brother Day was there, so like you said.
I love Boy's wife. What's her name? Kristen?
Chrisanne.
Yes, everything you say, I just didn't want to draw the conversation too long, but I think you will be, I do a lot of work with young people, so I would love to meet you one day. You were really right on point with everything.
Oh, with pleasure, with pleasure.
It's the next generation. So
yes, definitely the next
and there's a
generation.
there's a baby there to prove that,
Yes,
Yes.
And I'm adopting her already, Brother Monkam. I'm adopting her already. So let it be known. Let it be
Okay.
known. Okay.
Okay, Mama Gassam.
Okay.
Hey,
thank you.
I would like to thank everybody for this this class here. In the beginning, like I said, I had questions like, where is this coming from? Because like Sister Audrey said, me and her share a cousin in Ghana. And from Ghana to every country that I've been to, it was nothing but love. You know, so I was wondering where this war was between the diaspora and the Africans. And I'm glad that everybody got to speak and share their different perspectives on the topic. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Aventi is gone. I wanted to say hi. Those are the old people, the autotone, like we say in French. Yeah, those are the veterans of the Grassfield movement. Okay. Michael, nice seeing
Thank you,
you.
Michael.
You too.
It's so nice
All
to
right,
see
thank
you.
you.
Thank you.
Yes, bye. Bye, everyone.
Sister Nikia, thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you. Hello, Winnie. Thank you very much. Yeah.